Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I want to talk about NILE Holdings, ticker symbol NILE. This was brought to my attention by one of my Patreons, and I've been looking at it most of the days, so I want to give you my thoughts on this company. Then I want to show you some other interesting charts that I see in the market right now. I think the market is at a pretty important inflection point, so I want to go over that, and then I'm going to get into the trades that I made today. So if you want to see if I made or lost any money trading today, make sure you stick around for that. But let's start with NILE Holdings, ticker symbol NILE. Now this was actually brought to my attention by Brian from the Patreon group. I believe he has stock in this one. Maybe he bought some options. I think he bought stock in this one. But anyway, I ended up buying some stock in this one today. The options were just too expensive and too far out of the money. The closest call that I saw was the 250 call, and that is way up here, and there's only like 16 days left on that contract. So in this case, I just opted to buy some stock. I bought some at 85.5 cents, so 0.855. As it was coming down to this 50-period simple moving average, the optimal place for me to buy would have been down here right around the 8-period exponential moving average. So I dip my toe in the water, and if we get a movement down to this area and it holds, I'll probably add some more here and hope that I can catch the next wave up. Just looking at the volume down here, you can see the volume has been enormous compared, or at least the buy volume has been enormous compared to the selling volume. And even on today's, kind of nasty looking red candle, not too big though, but the volume isn't all that big. So it definitely looks like this thing is still under accumulation. This is what you want to see when you got the beginning stages of a potential big run in a stock. And of course, this one is related to the Bitcoin miners, and Bitcoin looks like it's picking up some steam. All of the Bitcoin mining stocks are still looking pretty good. I'll get into those in a second, but man, just looking at this chart, it's just a crazy looking chart. This company has actually been around for a very long time. Obviously, they weren't in the Bitcoin mining business going all the way back into the mid 90s, but this ticker symbol has been around for a very long time. So, man, just interesting looking chart. You can't get a whole heck of a lot out of it because who knows what they were doing back then, and I don't really care what they're doing. All I'm worried about is trying to catch this potential next wave up. But very nice looking chart. If it can hold this area right here, this is going to be key. If it breaks down below this area, below 76 cents, I think it's going to be endangered of breaking down through this low right here at 70 cents, and then it's probably going to be a broken chart after that. So I'm going to be putting my stop loss underneath 70 cents. I'm not going to risk a whole heck of a lot on it, just trying to catch that next wave up, and the chart looks pretty constructive as far as I'm concerned. It's worth a shot. But looking at some of the other Bitcoin miners, I do own CleanSpark. This is the only one that I currently own. Well, besides Nile now. But even though today, having a little bit of a down day, but it's actually retraced most of that back up. So it's a little bit of an inside day, but I expected it to have some trouble here at the 200-period simple moving average. And all things considered, it's really holding up pretty well. After a multi-day run, this is probably a multi-week run going into that major moving average, it would be absolutely normal to see a pullback down towards this support area. And it hasn't done it as of yet. So they're not knocking it down yet, so that's a sign of strength. Another one that I really like is Bitfarms. Haven't bought this one yet, but basically an inside day for Bitfarms, holding that gain from the day before, holding that breakout point above $4. So Bitfarms is looking really good. Taking a look at Mara. You can see Mara, same thing, holding that 8-period exponential moving average. So all of these Bitcoin mining stocks, even though they're not screaming higher today like a lot of other charts in the market, they are still holding their own and holding those gains. They're digesting those gains very well. Last one I want to show you is Riot Blockchain. You can see Riot Blockchain looking good as well. So if we get another move up in these Bitcoin mining stocks, which it's looking like it certainly could happen because they're not selling off. And if they're not selling off, then it looks like the buyers are still in control. And if that happens, I think Nile has a pretty good shot of making another big move up. So hopefully I can catch that. All right, well, before I jump into some of those interesting charts that I want to show you, I just want to go over the NASDAQ real quick. This is the QQQ ETF for the NASDAQ. And as we can see, the QQQs are going to be closing just above that 200-period simple moving average. So normally when I would see something like this, I'm thinking, all right, coast is clear. We're breaking through that 200-period simple moving average. This is the point in the chart where you usually get a little bit of a pullback. But I'm almost thinking this is feeling a little bit like a setup to send it down tomorrow and maybe the rest of the week. Even though this has been a very sharp uptrend, it seems like, they're not letting anybody into this market. I bet a lot of people who are thinking the market has bottomed, they're kind of waiting for a little bit of a pullback to either jump in or add to their positions. And this is the type of market where they just don't let you in, This is when the aggressive buying comes in. But also looking at this chart, this is also the point where people like myself might think the coast is clear, and that's when they might run it the other way. So probably before the market closes today, I'm going to take a small position in the SQQQ, just a little bit of a hedge, so in case they do run it down for, a day or two or maybe into the rest of the week, I have a little bit of a hedge against that. And if they don't, if the market just continues to move higher, then the rest of my stocks will just keep going up. But I think we're at a point in the chart where I probably need to put a little bit of a hedge on. But let's jump over to some interesting charts that I see in the market. I'm actually going to start with a few that I own. I have a small position in the tattooed chef-a-rooney, and this chart right here is a chart that I'm seeing a lot in the market right now. After a lot of these growth names have been, just kind of moving down. Let me situate this thing just a little bit better here. After some of these growth names have just been kind of fading down, they've been going sideways, had a little bit of a fake out to the downside and a move right back up into that 8-period exponential moving average, a move sideways into a hold, and now they are breaking out. So we are at that point in the chart where it's either going to be going sharply up or sharply down in the near future. You very seldom see a move like this with a pop up like this and then they go sideways. Almost always you either get a breakout or a false breakout. So this is a very important part in the chart, and I'm seeing a lot of stocks that are making this same pattern, at least very close to the same pattern. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the market does right here. And all these stocks that are making this type of pattern are the growth names that have been getting pummeled. So it's going to be interesting to see if money starts flowing back into these stocks. Now, another one that I own a small position in is SSYS, Stratasys. You can see same thing with Stratasys. Stratasys hasn't really sold off all that much over the last few months. Had this little mini, I don't know, epic run right here, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know why it went on this run, but then it just kind of rolled back over. It's been going sideways ever since. But then you got this little move down, a little bit of a false breakdown, right back up over those moving averages, and we are breaking out. So by the looks of this chart, I would say most likely, just like with the other charts, that we're probably headed higher, but this could be the point in the chart where, they kind of suck everybody in and then send it the other way. Now, another one that I own a small position in is Square. You can see Square, kind of the same thing, big move down, false breakdown, been chopping around a little bit, sharp move up over the moving averages, hold of the 8-period exponential moving average, and now we're popping higher. So just a lot of I don't know, good looking charts in the market right now. That's what kind of worries me. This is another one of my long-term holds in my M1 finance account. This one has had a big correction after the huge run that it had at the end of 2020, like a lot of growth stocks did that were overvalued. Now this thing has pulled back. It's been going sideways, holding those moving averages, and getting a nice big green candle. Another one that I own actually is Dutch Brothers. I own a very small position in this one. This one is kind of a head scratcher because usually when a stock IPOs, you'll kind of see it move up and then it'll usually fade down for 6 to 9 months, and that is not happening with Dutch Brothers. I took a very small position right about here on this pullback, and I've just kind of been waiting for this thing to dip below the 30s or at least into the low 30s, and it has not happened. This thing is making a beautiful rounded bottom, and it's making a nice little breakout today. So Maybe I should have been adding on this little rounded bottom, but I just expected this one to pull back more. If you've never heard of Dutch Brothers, they are a, you know, like kind of like a Starbucks, but man, this place is always so damn busy. Before I owned the stock and I would have to take my kids to this place, I hated going there because the lines were crazy. But what, you know what cures that is actually when you buy the stock. When you buy the stock and you go there and the lines are going, you know, all the way around the block, you don't mind so much. But hopefully Dutch Brothers can pull back, because I would like to add to this position. Now I'm going to get into some that I don't own that are looking kind of the same. You can see Robinhood. I mean, it looks like it's making a perfect bottom. All these things have jumped above that 50-period simple moving average, which is so important to when you're starting that new uptrend. Another one I don't own is Virgin Galactic. See, Virgin Galactic, same thing. You know, very long downtrend, but you guys are getting the point. You know, a little bit of a breakdown, then you know, a sharp reversal back above that 8-period exponential moving average, with a big breakout day today. So I think a lot of these stocks, they're really at an important point in the run. It's going to be pretty interesting to see what they do this week. You know, I got so many on here that I could just keep going over and over. Here's Open Door. You know, Quantum Escape was one of those that were, you know, really popular back when you know, the growth names were just bubbling up. QuantumScape has taken off. Another one is BNGO, Bio Nano Genomics, same exact pattern. So these are, you know, pretty clear bottoming patterns. So if the market does bottom, it looks like these growth stocks, you know, they have some legs underneath them. All right, so let's get into my trading activity for the day. Before I get into that, please remember, I am not a financial advisor. All of this is for entertainment purposes only. I'm just trying to show you how I trade and my trading setups, so you can just check out my process. If you can get something from it, great. If not, that's great too. Please make all of your own buying and selling decisions. Now, that being said, I do have a Patreon group, so if you'd like to join our little trading community, the link is down there in the description. It's only $9.99 a month. I'm in that Discord every single day, and also I try to put out a pre-market watch list video on the Patreon page before every trading day, just showing you what I am looking at before the day starts, and if I see anything significant in the market. But no pressure to join that. Simply liking the smash button would be greatly appreciated. But let's get into that trade. I did a little bit of a day trade on the SQQQ, and this is the inverted NASDAQ ETF. And just looking at this chart, you're probably thinking, why the heck would you ever go long this thing? But it was just a quick trade. In the I saw that the Qs might be breaking down. So actually, let's go to the Qs, and I'll show you how it's set up, and then I'll jump back to the SQQQs. But after this gap up today, I thought it might get sold into. I was talking about that in the Patreon group, but let's go to the minute chart, show you how this one's set up and what I was seeing. Go back here. So the NASDAQ had this big gap up, but I thought it might get sold into. Had a nice little sharp move down there. I was kind of still watching, and after it had one more wave down and bounced up, it kind of started moving sideways. So I was thinking that the market was kind of doing a little tug-of-war action, and if it ended up breaking down below this low, I'd want to be short. But if this thing found its footing and found a bottom and ended up breaking above this high right here, it was probably going to end up, you know, having some decent follow through to the upside. So if it was above this high, then I wanted to be long. If it was below this low, then I wanted to be short. And as you can see, it eventually rolled over and broke down below that 368 level. That's what I was watching. So jumping over to the SQQQ, you can see this is just the inverted version of what we just saw. So this was that little pivot point that I wanted to get long if the Qs, you know, ended up rolling over. So I saw that level was 32.20 on the SQQQ, put in my order right there, got executed at 32.21, had a nice little move up, and I actually wanted to take profit once it filled this gap here right around 33. I actually put in my order at 32.98. But unfortunately, it never made it there. I had my original stop set in right here. So if it broke below this level, I was going to take my small loss. Once it had this move up, this little pullback, and it started to round back up, I moved my stop loss up underneath this pivot point. And I was thinking the way this thing started hooking up, it was definitely going to fill the gap right here. And I was going to make, you know, I bought 500 shares, so I was going to make a few $100s if it ended up filling that gap. But unfortunately, it rolled right over and stopped me out at 32.39. So I ended up making a tiny gain on a percentage basis. I think after fees, it was like, or after commissions, it was like $60 or something like that. But I thought if it ended up breaking this level, it was probably just going to end up, fading down. Chances of it filling that gap are probably small. And that's kind of what happened. We just had a little bit of a fade down the rest of the day. So unfortunately, this one didn't end up being a big gain, but at least I made something on it. Let's go back to the daily chart and let me situate this. But I was watching 3 other stocks that were gapping up, and they didn't really work out. And I saw this one just a little bit too late. This was on my original gap up list, but this would have been a pretty decent trade. Let me go to the minute chart, and I'll show you how this one was shaping up. The ticker symbol is MEDS. Let me back it up here a little bit. I saw this one just as it was breaking above this little rounded bottom. I saw it when it was right here. So this would have been the optimal trade entry for me. But this wasn't on my original list, so I was a little late. Usually if the stocks that I'm watching, I usually have a group of 2 or 3 that I'm watching, and if they don't end up making a move, I'll try to do a quick scan and see if there's any other stocks that had a gap up that are making this pattern. And like I said, I found this one about a minute or two too late. This would have been the optimal buy point right here, which was right around 284, and it made it to a high, or at least a high right here, up of about 315. So that would have been more than enough to grab my, 6 or 7% that I like to get on these. So, and actually this one ended up ripping quite a bit higher, or at least at that point it did. But that was definitely a nice setup. This is what I really try to look for when I'm looking for these little gap and go trades. Sometimes they make this pattern, sometimes they don't. And in fact, if they don't make this rounded bottom pattern right here, I very, very seldom trade them. I'll just kind of let them, just kind of take them off the list and try to find something else. But those were the trades that I made today, or say that was the trade that I made today. I'm going to end the video right here. If you guys have any interesting stocks you see setting up, please leave them down there in the comments section for me. I'd love to see anything you guys see that could be setting up. And if you have any questions, make sure you leave it down there as well. But thank you so much for watching my video all the way to the end. And until next time, take care, everybody.